So you've got $500 sitting in your bank account right now, and you're staring at two different paths. You could throw it at your credit card debt that's been haunting you for the past year, or you could open up that Roth IRA you've been meaning to start and finally begin investing. And here's the thing. You've probably Googled this question like 17 times. You've gotten completely different answers from everyone you've asked, and you're still sitting there, paralyzed, doing absolutely nothing while that money just sits in your checking account earning basically 0% interest. Look, I've been there, and what drives me crazy is that this question has turned into this massive debate in personal finance circles when the answer is actually pretty straightforward once you understand one simple rule. But nobody wants to give you the simple answer because, well, it doesn't make for good clickbait, and it doesn't let financial gurus sound smart by giving you some complicated 12-step system. My name is Thomas, and I spend way too much time thinking about debt payoff strategies, investment returns, and why people make the financial decisions they do. If you're someone who's stuck between paying off debt and investing, watching your friends buy stocks while you're still dealing with student loans or credit card balances, and you have no idea which financial move is actually going to set you up better for the future, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you the one rule that actually settles this debate, not some wishy-washy, it depends answer, but a clear framework you can use to make this decision in literally 5 minutes. And then I'm going to show you the math behind why this rule works, the psychology of why people get it wrong, and the exact steps you need to take based on your specific situation. All right, here it is. The one rule that ends this argument. If the interest rate on your debt is higher than the expected return on your investment, pay off the debt first. If the expected return on your investment is higher than your debt's interest rate, invest first. That's it. That's the rule. Now you might be thinking, Thomas, that's way too simple. There's got to be more to it than that. And look, I get it, but this is where most people mess up. They overcomplicate a fundamentally mathematical decision and turn it into this emotional battle that leaves them doing nothing. Let me show you exactly what I mean with real numbers. The math that changes everything. Let's say you have a credit card with $5,000 in balance at 22% APR. That's not unusual. According to a 2024 report from the Federal Reserve, the average credit card interest rate in the U.S. is around 21.5%, so you're pretty much right at average. Here's what most people don't realize. If you're paying 22% interest on that debt, you need to earn more than 22% on your investments just to break even. And here's the thing. The stock market's average annual return over the past century has been around 10% before inflation. In a really good year, maybe you'll see 15 or 20%, but consistently beating 22%, that's basically impossible for the average investor. So let's do the actual math. If you take that $500 and invest it, and let's be really generous and say you get a 12% return this year, which would be a fantastic year, you'd make $60. But if you have that $5,000 in credit card debt at 22%, you're paying about $1,100 in interest over the course of a year. Every dollar you put toward that debt is giving you a guaranteed 22% return. Think about that, a guaranteed 22% return. Show me an investment that guarantees you 22% annually with zero risk. It doesn't exist. Here's where it gets really interesting. Now, this is where the conversation gets more nuanced because not all debt is created equal. Let's say instead of a credit card, you've got a federal student loan at 4% interest. Suddenly, the math looks completely different because now you're comparing that 4% interest rate to the stock market's historical 10% average return. In this scenario, mathematically, you'd actually come out ahead by investing. If you invest $500 and get that 10% average return, you'd make about $50 in a year. If you paid off $500 of your 4% student loan, you'd save about $20 in interest. You're $30 better off by investing. And here's the thing that blows people's minds. This difference compounds over time. That $500 invested at 10% for 30 years becomes about $8,700. That same $500 used to pay down 4% debt saves you about $2,000 in interest over the same period. The gap is enormous. The interest rate spectrum. So here's how I want you to think about this. Imagine debt on a spectrum. High interest debt, anything above 8 to 10%, credit cards, personal loans, payday loans, this is financial cancer. You need to kill this debt as aggressively as possible. every dollar here is an emergency. Medium interest debt, 4 to 8%, most auto loans, some student loans, older mortgages. This is the gray area where the decision gets more personal and depends on your risk tolerance. Low interest debt, below 4%, recent mortgages, federal student loans, subsidized loans. This is where investing usually makes more mathematical sense. According to data from the New York Federal Reserve, as of late 2024, the average American household with credit card debt carries a balance of over $7,000. At current interest rates, that's costing them about $1,500 per year in interest alone. That's money just evaporating. The psychology problem. Now, here's what most people don't realize, and this is where the psychology comes in. We are absolutely terrible at understanding the true cost of debt. Look, there's this concept in behavioral economics called present bias. Basically, we overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future costs. So that credit card debt, it doesn't feel like it's costing you $1,500 a year because you're not writing one big check for $1,500. It's getting nibbled away in minimum payments that just feel like another bill. But investing feels exciting. You get to see that number go up. You get to tell your friends you're in the market. You get to check your portfolio and feel like you're doing something smart with your money. This is why people will keep a $10,000 credit card balance at 20% interest while simultaneously contributing to a 401k. They're losing money on both ends, but it feels like they're being financially responsible because they're investing for retirement. Here's the thing. Paying off high-interest debt is investing. It's just the most boring investment you'll ever make because there's no app to check, no portfolio to show off, no stocks to research, but it's giving you a guaranteed return that beats almost anything else you could possibly do with that money. The exceptions to the rule. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Thomas, but what about employer 401k matching? What about building an emergency fund? What about my mortgage? Great questions. Let me address these directly because this is where the rule needs some nuance. Exception number 1, employer 401k match. If your employer offers a 401k match, that's free money. If they match 50% of your contributions up to 6% of your salary, that's an immediate 50% return on your money. That beats any debt interest rate you're going to have. So yes, always contribute enough to get the full employer match, even if you have high-interest debt. Get that free money, then attack the debt. Exception number 2, emergency fund. Before you aggressively pay off debt or invest, you need a small emergency fund. I'm talking $1,000 to $2,000, just enough so that when your car breaks down or your dog needs to go to the vet, you're not putting it on a credit card and making your debt situation worse. This is your financial foundation. Exception number 3, mortgages. Mortgages are interesting because they're usually low-interest debt, plus you get a tax deduction on the interest in many cases. If you've got a mortgage at 3% or 4%, the math strongly favors investing over making extra principal payments. But here's where psychology matters. Some people really value the peace of mind of owning their home outright. And look, if that's you, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. The mathematically optimal choice isn't always the right choice for your mental health. The real-world action plan. All right, so here's exactly what you should do, step by step. Step 1, list out all your debts with their interest rates. Everything. Credit cards, student loans, car loans, mortgage, everything. Step 2, check if you have an emergency fund of at least $1,000. If not, build that first before anything else. Step 3, if you have access to an employer 401k match, contribute enough to get the full match. That's non-negotiable, free money. Step 4, now look at your debt list. Anything above 8% interest, that's your priority. Every extra dollar you have goes here, and I mean every dollar. Cancel the subscriptions you're not using, skip the takeout this week, sell stuff you don't need, whatever it takes to throw more money at this debt. Step 5, once the high-interest debt is gone, look at your medium-interest debt, 4 to 8%. This is where you need to make a personal decision. Mathematically, you'll probably come out ahead investing, but if having this debt stresses you out, Pay it off. Your mental health has value too. Step 6. If all you have left is low-interest debt, below 4%, shift your focus to investing. Max out your Roth IRA, increase your 401k contributions, build a taxable investment account. The math strongly favors investing at this point.
The compound effect nobody talks about. Here's what really gets me. People underestimate how much high-interest debt is destroying their financial future. Let's run a real scenario. Sarah has $10,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest, and she's making minimum payments of about $200 a month. At that rate, it'll take her 9 years to pay off the debt, and she'll pay about $11,680 in interest. That's more than the original balance. Now let's say Sarah gets serious. She finds an extra $300 a month. Maybe she picks up a side hustle, cuts back on expenses, whatever. Now she's paying $500 a month toward that debt. She'll be debt-free in about 2 years and pay only about $2,200 in interest. She just saved herself $9,480 in 7 years of her life. But here's where it gets really interesting. After those 2 years, she takes that $500 she was putting toward debt and invests it instead. Over the next 30 years, at a 10% average return, that $500 a month becomes about $1.1 million. If she had kept making minimum payments and tried to invest $500 a month while paying off the debt, she'd have been investing for 30 years, sure, but that debt would have taken 9 years to pay off, costing her nearly $12,000 in interest. And psychologically, most people can't sustain that. They burn out, they give up, they end up doing neither effectively. This is the compound effect nobody talks about. Eliminating high-interest debt doesn't just save you money, it completely changes the trajectory of your financial life. The mindset shift. Look, I want to address something that I see all the time in the comments and in messages I get. People feel like they're missing out by paying off debt instead of investing. They see the stock market going up, they see their friends talking about their investment gains, and they feel like they're being left behind. Here's the mindset shift you need. Getting out of high-interest debt is the best investment you'll ever make in your 20s or 30s, period. Think about it this way. Being debt-free doesn't just save you interest payments. It gives you flexibility. It reduces stress. It means that when an opportunity comes along, a chance to switch careers, start a business, take a risk, you can actually take it because you're not shackled to monthly debt payments. The wealthiest people I know aren't wealthy because they invested early. They're wealthy because they avoided or eliminated high-interest debt, which gave them the freedom to make bold moves when opportunities appeared. Now, let me address some objections I know people are going to have. But Thomas, what about inflation? Isn't debt getting cheaper over time? Yes, inflation technically reduces the real value of your debt over time. But here's the thing. Your high-interest debt is accruing interest faster than inflation is eroding its value. If inflation is 3%, but your credit card charges 22%, you're still losing 19% per year in real terms. Inflation is not your friend when you have high-interest debt. What if the stock market crashes right after I pay off my debt? Look, trying to time the market is a fool's errand. If you pay off high-interest debt, you've locked in a guaranteed return equal to that interest rate. The stock market could crash, could boom, could do nothing. Doesn't matter. You've made the mathematically optimal decision with the information you had. Shouldn't I build wealth and pay off debt at the same time? In theory, sure. In practice, most people don't have unlimited money, and trying to do both means you do neither effectively. It's like trying to dig 2 holes at once. You'd be better off finishing one hole and then moving to the next. Focus creates momentum, and momentum creates results.
The brutal truth. Here's the brutal truth that most personal finance content won't tell you. If you have high-interest debt, you are not in a position to build wealth yet. You're in a position to stop the bleeding. I know that's harsh. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth. Trying to invest while carrying high-interest debt is like trying to fill a bathtub while the drain is wide open. You might make some progress, but you're working against yourself the entire time. According to a study from the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, about 38% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and the average household that carries this debt pays over $1,000 per year in interest charges. That's $1,000 a year that could be invested, saved, or used to improve their lives, just vanishing. Your next steps. All right, so here's what I want you to do after you finish watching this video. First, pull up your debt statements. All of them. I want you to see the interest rates in black and white. Second, Calculate how much you're actually paying in interest each year, not what you think you're paying, what you're actually paying. This number will probably shock you. Third, make a decision. Are you going to keep letting this debt drain your financial future, or are you going to get aggressive about eliminating it? Fourth, if you decide to get aggressive, which you should if you have high-interest debt, find $100 this month that you can put toward your debt above the minimum payment. Just $100. Next month, try to find $150. Build momentum. And look, I know this isn't sexy. I know it's not as exciting as picking stocks or investing in crypto or whatever the financial flavor of the month is, but this is the foundation. You can't build wealth on a foundation of high-interest debt. It doesn't work. The question isn't really, should I pay off debt or invest? The real question is, am I willing to make the mathematically optimal decision even when it's not the emotionally satisfying one? Because here's the thing. Personal finance is personal, but math is math. And if you're paying 20% interest on debt while chasing 10% returns in the stock market, you're not being clever, you're losing money with extra steps. The one rule is simple. Compare the interest rate to the expected return. Let the math make the decision for you. And then, this is the important part, actually follow through on that decision. Don't just nod along with this video and then go back to doing the same thing you've been doing. Your future self is either going to thank you for making the hard choice now or regret that you kept putting it off. Which one is it going to be? If this video helped you finally understand how to make this decision, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more content that cuts through the BS and gives you actionable financial advice. Drop a comment and let me know, what's your biggest debt challenge right now? I read every comment and I'll do my best to help. Now get out there and make the mathematically optimal choice. Your future self is counting on you.